Marcus Rashford out of the England squad for the Euros, gents. I think we thought that that's what should happen, but I didn't think Southgate would have the balls to drop one of his little favourites. JJ, I'll start with you, bro. How's the Man United fans taking this? How are you taking it?
Well, it's mixed. A lot of Man United fans are saying, look, man, it's about time that they've got like a consequence for poor form. He's been poor for Man United for so long. A lot of these times with these players, they play poor, get a new manager, they start again, everything's fine. Nothing happens to these players. For the first time, he's not scored enough goals. You're the highest paid player at Man United and you can't even get into the provisional team. This is a big issue. You're one of our biggest players, and it just goes to show, because I think every time he's been called out, he's almost had a pushback. His brother's come out, someone's come out and spoken on behalf of him.
He's acted like a victim, as if
every single time.
He's acted like a victim, in my opinion, as if it's not his fault and that this is all abuse and it's not actual criticism. And then you see he's still swanning around Carrington as if he's top boy, when in reality it's like, no, it's time you acknowledged what the outside world are trying to get through.
I've been looking at.
You're playing like shit, mate. You're not good enough anymore. So now, I think that this really puts into check everything anyone's ever said about Marcus Rashford and how good he can be. And now you have to really acknowledge, like, he was on a trajectory that he is just not on anymore, because with all the top players in English football history, none of them ever did not make a squad for a tournament with England. That's never happened to a player of his talent level.
And you know that where it gets more interesting. Here? Go ahead.
Going into the Winter World Cup, Marcus Rashford had not been on good form at all. Really, it had been a good season since he was banging in goals. He went to the Winter World Cup with England, and I think he finished the tournament joint top goal scorer. I think it was 4 goals he got. A few of them came in the group stages. He looked like the Rashford of the past. He looked like the Rashford that we were all so excited about when he was bursting onto the scene. So as much as you would probably look at that position on the pitch and go, well, hold on, Foden's ahead of him, Anthony Gordon's ahead of him, possibly others that I'm not thinking of now. As much as you would look at that and say that, there would always be that little niggling piece of my mind thinking, yes, but I have took him to a tournament out of form before, and he did score more than anyone else on the plane for us.
Yes. Now, but
Grealish isn't in top form as well. Like, Grealish is there. Jared Bowen is there. These guys, Grealish isn't on top form at all.
Grealish couldn't get an England spot when he was banging them in for Aston Villa. Now he's sitting on the bench for City. He can't stop getting picked. But, and I get that. There are inconsistencies, but I think this is more of an acknowledgement about Marcus Rashford in that, you can't play like this and still make the squad. And I just hope that this is like a wake-up call for him as a man.
I don't think it's going to be. That's the problem. That's the biggest issue that we have here. The Ten Hag press conference, the FA Cup, the pre-press conference for that is going to be really telling, because there's going to be loads of questions about Rashford, and he has to come out now and say, Rashford's a key player for us. I believe in him. He has to back him. And recently, Rashford has been on the bench in the last couple games of the season, even though he had an injury. So now it gets interesting, because if he drops him, let's imagine he doesn't start him in the most important game of the year against the rivals, your Manchester rivals. He's going to be on the phone to his agent saying, we got to get out of here, because let's not forget him and Sancho are very close. But Jadon Sancho Jadon Sancho was in the England team when it was before he came to Man United. Since he's been at Man United, he's lost his space, and now Rashford's lost his space. Well, if people rarely look inside and they say, what's going on with us? They're going to look outward and say, well, it's that fraud over there. So I honestly don't think that he's going to have this moment of looking within. You've already seen he's got the Dune David Beckham PR team. So obviously that message came straight out after the thing. I imagine him and the itinerary that him and Jadon are probably set up, probably with Jay Lings, is going to be, they're going to go and see the world, really. I hope he comes back ready to work, but I don't know.
Do you know what? I honestly think that this could be something that prompts massive changes and does prompt a possible move even for Marcus Rashford, because if you carry on doing the same thing, history's told us now, players don't come back. Once Gareth Southgate drops you, and we don't really associate Gareth Southgate as being a ruthless manager in the slightest, but actually, when you think about it, Lingard, Dele Alli, Sterling, now Rashford, there's probably others in there that I can't think of that Gareth Southgate has dropped, and they haven't come back, you know?
Do you think his career could go in the same way that Jay Lings' career has?
Totally different. Now, the difference for Rashford is he's just way too comfortable. I always compare it to the kid that is lived at home for too long, doesn't pay rent, just goes into the fridge, swans about the place and has no real responsibility. It's not like he has no acknowledgement of what he has to do. Now he has to face the harsh reality. Him getting knocked out of this England team is the parents shutting the door and saying you can't live here no more. That's pretty much what's happened. Now it's what he's in is sink or swim scenario. And I honestly believe that if he goes to another club where he has to prove himself, well, in life terms, he has to pay rent, has to make sure everything is done to stay afloat. This will be the making of him.
He can't rest on his laurels in a situation like that because at Man United, he feels like he's the king of the town because he's got the love of the fans. But even they've turned on him recently. Mm-hmm. And as much as I like the analogy, usually it doesn't get this far. Usually people sort their act out prior to this, and this is where the Jesse Lingard comparison I think is applicable. Despite Rashford having more talent than Lingard, it's attitude. And for me, if you can't motivate yourself to play for your boyhood club and make sure that you don't end up going out the door, I don't know who you can motivate yourself for. So as much as I understand that a move could reinvigorate Rashford, I don't think for 1 second it's a foregone conclusion.
Where's he going to go?
And if anything, just to finish on this last point, lads, it could expose him even more because at another club, you won't have your parents there wiping your arse. Yeah. You won't get the special treatment and it will be sink or swim. And I wouldn't be surprised I don't think he'll drift away quite as bad as Lingard, but I think the fall will be clear.
I think he's totally going to swim purely on the basis of, you've seen that Man United, how toxic it is. You've seen it. You've seen players, Elanga, everyone leaves the club, Pereira, not saying that's the level, but players leave and get better. Players leave and they feel, and what he needs to feel is, you're not the best player here. He doesn't have to prove himself at Manchester United. He's the highest earner. No one can say nothing to him, and he's always going to get the ball. Well, how's that going to push you and make you better?
Here's the problem with that, though. The problem with that, KG, is for him to get a move away where he is going to be in a situation where he's not the best player there. Do big, huge clubs want to pay 300 plus grand a week for Marcus Rashford to come and maybe prove himself? I think it limits him. And the problem with that is it limits him to probably PSG. I don't know who else would want him. Maybe Bayern.
Yeah, PSG, Bayern. No, he's not going to go to another Premier League team. PSG have just completely changed their transfer policy. They're only signing under 25 players. They've completely ripped up that. I think that door's closed now. Bayern is the only one that out of the options you just said that is even feasible. He's not going to go to Juve. He's not really going to go to Italy. They can't afford the players anymore. Barca can't afford the big players. He's obviously not going to go to Real Madrid. Bayern is the only one that's anywhere near that. And if you think of the wing options at Bayern, that's an area in which they've got some quality players. I just don't know. I just don't know where he goes next. And I think that's the biggest issue here. Like you're saying that he's going to flourish and be this better player when he leaves. I just don't know where you're going to get the move. I don't think he's going to move anywhere. I don't think it's possible.
I'd agree with that. I think that when you look at the comparison that we made earlier to Jesse Lingard, no offence to any of these clubs, but Jesse Lingard's main sort of clubs he was being linked with at the time were Newcastle, Forest and West Ham. They were the three that I was hearing of him being linked with, right? When you look at Marcus Rashford, potentially a Bayern move, potentially a PSG. One can always pop up out of the woodwork, but I think the main thing that we would all agree on, including KG, who's a Man United fan, is that the logical thing to probably do now is to move, is to take yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think that if he's bothered about his international career, that could hinge on that now.
Absolutely.
Are we in agreement on the character of Marcus? Is if he doesn't move and he takes this lying down and carries on business as usual, we're kind of saying like, you're kind of accepting your fate here and you're just happy to run out the contract now.
Well, there's a key thing though, isn't there? I do feel like it's the manager situation as well. I very much feel like Marcus Rashford, has for a long time now silently been waiting and thinking, hold on, have you still not sacked him? And that's what I think is going on here. He is anticipating Ten Hag leaving, and when a new manager comes in, providing it's not Gareth Southgate like we had heard in the media, he's ultimately going to back himself to hit the ground running under that new manager. So I can see it going either way.
I see a scenario where he scores, because it could go, it could reverse and hit Southgate in a bad way as well. Let's say, for instance, we do my FA Cup dream. Let's say, for instance, Marcus Rashford does go on and score 2 goals and helps us win the FA Cup. I promise you now, if England mess up, everyone's going to say is, you left this guy at home. Why? That's what will happen. You know how we do it. Like hindsight's 2020. Southgate, this could be something that could be used for Southgate to potentially lose his job if Rashford has a good game in the FA Cup. Because we're like that. I can't. Let's not say it can't happen.
I don't even think Rashford.
I don't think Rashford having a good game is going to convince me that we needed him on the plane. Otherwise, we would have won it if we had him there. I just think that we've got this is one of the key things here, right? With all the hysteria that went around the possible Jordan Henderson inclusion, which now we've obviously seen hasn't happened in this provisional squad. With that, as much as we did not feel like he deserved to be there, as much as we felt like probably we had better candidates there, we can agree that sort of 6-8 position for England is an area where we don't have the most depth. Whereas I feel like with where Rashford's going to be playing for England, our options are really, really good for us. So I just feel like that takes a bit of the pressure off.
It takes the pressure off by a present because, come on, we know we're England fans at the end of the day, and we can complain. We'll find something to complain about if we mess up in the group stages or if we do something stupid in this tournament.
Yeah, you might be right about that. I don't need any encouragement to tell Southgate he's a wanker, especially not, But for Ivan Toney to go to the tournament, for example, is in the provisional squad, who's been absolutely garbage since coming back, I think it says a lot more, not just about Rashford's ability, but also there's something there with Southgate. He's big on character. And maybe this stroppy, I'm the best attitude is another thing that Southgate's like, you know what? Because when Ivan Toney is as big a bell end as he comes across and he still gets the nod and you don't, I got to question what Southgate is thinking in regards to your character as well.
Well, barring Harry Kane, Rashford is the player that's been to the most international tournaments in that England squad now. I don't think there's anyone that's racked up. What has Rashford done? 3 tournaments. This would be his 4th, I think. So when we're talking about experience within that squad, I think you are right to read between the lines there a little bit and think, hold on, because we all know that in tournaments gone by, there's been players taken that were not going to play a minute of football. Jude Bellingham, Gareth Southgate was able to at least see that Jude Bellingham was going to be the future of this country, and even though he wasn't going to get any minutes, he still took him to Euro 2020. Yeah. Jordan Henderson has been said to have been there for other tournaments when, okay, it may be more of a dressing room role that he's going to play rather than on the pitch, but ultimately it's good for the team. So for Southgate to be able to pick, and some of the names as well, remember here, like Adam Wharton, like there's so many names that were included here that you just think, okay, you're definitely sort of gearing towards the future of this country, whether you're there or not, rather than what we have all labelled him as doing at times, which is sticking with the players that have done it for him.
And it feels like with Rashford likely to sit on the bench throughout that tournament, he's thinking, are you going to have a good attitude given the fact that people are clearly better than you right now? I'm not so sure. I believe you.
It's so hard. That's
probably where he's thought about it. Manchester United, Marcus Rashford, is that relationship still intact at the start of next season, or has Rashford parted ways? Start with you, KG.
Oh man, what a question. I'm going to say, no. Not going to be. I don't think he's going to be there.
Josh?
I think he'll 100% be there, and that's mainly because I think they're going to sack Ten Hag after he loses the FA Cup final. So I think they'll get a man manager in. I think Mauricio Pochettino could be the best thing that ever happened to Marcus Rashford, to be honest.
You might be right. He might call Palmer him. Joey?
I just want to know from KG, you said you think Marcus Rashford's going to score in the FA Cup final, so you think that's his farewell, do you?
Well, listen, I'm praying that we're going to score and we're going to do it. I promise you pricks. If I have
if Rashford's ever going to score, it's now, isn't it? Because you know when Rashford's counted out, he always scores whenever he gets any bad press.
Belfast,
put your house on it.
Birthday party. Anytime he's done something stupid, Rashford gets a brace. So I'm thinking he's going to score. We're going to lift the cup. But if he doesn't start him, he won't be at Man United. So it all depends on what Ten Hag does. Starts him, he's going to be there. Doesn't start him, he's a goner.
I'm going to say I think Rashford's there next season just purely for the fact of, for the amount of money it's going to cost to pay him week in, week out. I don't think another team is going to pay him that kind of money, and he's not going to take a pay downgrade. No way. Do you disagree, Joey?
No, I would say he is probably going to be there next season just because of the fact that we spoke about the teams that could potentially be coming in for him on the wages he's on, possibly the price he would have to move for. I just don't think that when the package to get Marcus Rashford to you is going to be that much, you're likely to bring him in off of a non-stellar season. So I think he'll be at Man United next season. I think he'll probably be there under a new manager.
All right, lads, we'll leave it there. Let us know what you all think in the comments below. Marcus Rashford, will he be a Man United player now that he's not going to England's tournament? Let us know in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. If you're looking for a change of career, then our partners, Course Careers, is a great place to go. They'll help you get tangible skills in things like software development, tech sales, digital advertising, and more. And we've had loads of positive feedback from you lot, particularly on the software development course. And if any of you lot want to get involved, you can start learning now for free by clicking the link in the description below.